Hello everyone, this is Michael from Battery Hacker. Today I am comparing two very common off-grid solar setups, a dual-axis solar tracker versus a fixed ground-mounted solar system. The goal of this comparison is very simple. I want to find out how much extra energy a dual-axis tracker can really produce. How many more solar panels a ground mount needs to match that output. And finally, which option makes more financial sense? Many people believe trackers are always the best choice, but the results might surprise you. For this comparison, I am using one of the most popular dual-axis trackers available. This tracker is commonly used by DIY solar builders, which makes it a practical option for testing. The tracker can hold 6 solar panels, each rated at 100 watts, so the total power on the tracker is 600 watts. We will call this setup Test A. For a fair comparison, Test B will also use 600 watts of solar panels mounted on a fixed ground structure facing south. Because this system is off-grid, I am optimizing the tilt angle for winter conditions. Winter represents the worst-case scenario because the sun stays lower in the sky. To compare both systems accurately, I am using PV Watts, which is a free solar simulation tool based on real weather data. In PV Watts, we can select whether the system uses a solar tracker or a fixed ground mount. For this test, I am using Houston, Texas as the reference location. The exact location is not the main focus here. What really matters is the performance difference between tracking and fixed systems over an entire year. After running the simulation, here are the results. The dual-axis solar tracker produces 1,169 kilowatt-hours per year. The ground-mounted system, fixed at a 40-degree tilt, produces 855 kilowatt-hours per year. That is a difference of 314 kilowatt-hours annually. In percentage terms, the tracker produces 27% more energy than the fixed ground mount. This result is not unexpected. Trackers are designed to follow the sun throughout the day, which allows them to capture more sunlight. Now, I know many of you are wondering how much difference the season makes, especially during summer when the sun is higher in the sky. So, I repeated the same PV Watts simulation, but this time I adjusted the tilt angle of the ground-mounted system for summer conditions. With the summer-optimized tilt, the difference between the two systems becomes 23% in favor of the tracker. This means the seasonal change does not dramatically reduce the advantage of the tracker. In both winter and summer, the tracker continues to produce noticeably more energy. Did you expect the difference to be close to 30%, or were you expecting something much higher? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's answer a very important question. How many solar panels does a ground-mounted system need to match the energy output of the tracker? On the left side, we have 600 watts of solar panels on a dual-axis tracker. On the right side, we increase the size of the ground-mounted system. By increasing the ground mount from 600 watts to 900 watts, the fixed system produces the same annual energy as the 600-watt tracker. So in simple terms, 600 watts on a tracker equals 900 watts on a fixed ground mount. This clearly shows that a ground-mounted system needs extra panels to achieve the same energy production as a tracking system. A dual-axis tracker can reduce the number of solar panels needed, but that does not automatically mean it is the better choice. Energy production is only one part of the decision. Cost, reliability, and long-term maintenance are just as important. Now let's move on to the most important part of this comparison, the total system cost. First, let's look at the dual-axis tracker system. Dual-axis solar tracker cost $550. 6 solar panels, each 100 watts, $366. That brings the total tracker system cost to $916. Now let's calculate the cost of the ground-mounted system. Ground mount racking cost, $240. 9 solar panels, each 100 watts, $549. The total cost of the ground-mounted system is $789. Even after adding extra panels to match the tracker's output, the ground-mounted system is still $127 cheaper. Some people may choose to build their own racking, but I included racking costs to keep this comparison fair and realistic. Although the ground-mounted system requires more panels, it offers better long-term value in my opinion. A fixed ground mount has fewer moving parts, lower maintenance requirements, and higher long-term reliability. It can also be adjusted seasonally, which helps improve performance without adding mechanical complexity. If you are limited on space, a tracker might still be a reasonable option. However, for most off-grid systems, the simplicity of a fixed ground mount usually outweighs the additional energy gained from a tracker. Now let's see how location affects tracker performance. In Anchorage, Alaska, the fixed ground mount is optimized for winter with a 71-degree tilt angle. Here, the difference between tracking and fixed systems increases to 35%. To match 600 watts on a tracker, you would need 1 kilowatt of solar panels on a ground-mounted system. Even with this higher difference, I would still personally choose a ground mount. Extreme cold can cause problems like freezing, which may prevent the tracker from moving properly. Now let's look at Ecuador. Here, the difference between tracking and fixed systems is 26%, which is very similar to what we saw in Houston. To match a 600-watt tracker, you would need approximately 780 watts of solar panels on a fixed mount. On average, a dual-axis solar tracker provides about 30% more energy. As you move farther north, the performance advantage of a tracker becomes more noticeable. However, trackers also come with drawbacks. They require a direct current power supply. Installation is more complex. Maintenance and spare parts may not be easily available. Panel size options can be limited. Because of these reasons, I believe fixed ground-mounted systems are more reliable and cost-effective for most off-grid solar setups. Trackers can increase energy capture, but the added complexity often outweighs the benefits. Thanks for watching. This is Michael from Battery Hacker, and I'll see you in the next one.